So now that we have seen what are the types of offer, right? Now we'll see essentials of a valid offer. We've seen essentials of an offer earlier. There should be offer, offerer, and it can be positive or negative, and all this we've seen. Now we are seeing essentials of a valid offer. Again, just like essentials of a valid contract, the same thing. It says it should be capable of creating legal relations. As we already know, social relations or social obligations are not under the purview of Indian Contract Act. So it must be capable of creating legal relations. And again, just like we have one of the essential for valid contract is it must be certain, definite, and not vague. Similarly, here we have the same thing, must be certain, definite, and not vague. The example we have seen is when A agrees to sell oil to B, he should clearly mention what kind of oil it is. Okay. Uh, it can't be vague just saying oil. He should clearly mention what is the kind of oil and all that. So it can't be vague. And then so it must be communicated to the offeree, obviously. So the main essence is there should be communication, because without communication, that particular offeree would not be knowing what the offer is. So it must be communicated. An offer to be complete must be communicated to the person to whom it is made. Otherwise, there can be no acceptance. Without communication, without communicating our willingness to enter into a contract or making an offer, there can't be acceptance. So unless an offer is communicated, there can be no acceptance. An acceptance of an offer in ignorance of the offer is not acceptance and does not confer any right on the accepted. Yeah. Without knowing the offer, if you accept, that doesn't fulfill conditions of our offer, so it can't be a again the same example, Lalman Shukla versus Gauri Dutt. So Gauri Dutt advertised in a newspaper saying that whoever finds his missing nephew will be given a reward. Lalman Shukla, his servant, without knowing about this offer, he traced his nephew. Now this particular servant can't claim the prize amount because he never knew what the offer is. Without knowing the offer, you can't consider there to be an agreement and all that. So it must be communicated, and acceptance without knowing what the offer is not constituted to be an offer, right? And it must be with a view to obtain the acceptance of the other party. Yeah, obviously. And it may be conditional. Yeah, there an offer, there may be few terms like you'll have to make payment by RTGS, NEFT, and all that. So we see these kind of conditions, too many conditions of this sort in our present days. So it may be conditional. Okay. So quick recap. It must be capable of creating legal relations, should not be vague, communicated to the offeree, and acceptance in ignorance is not the offer, and it must be made with a view to obtain the acceptance of the other party, and it can be conditional. And the sixth one is offer should not contain a term the non-compliance of which would amount to acceptance. Yeah, these sort of terms should not be there. You cannot say an offer. So I'm planning to sell my car for 2 lakhs. If you don't respond within 1 week, I'll consider that you've accepted my offer. So these type of terms shouldn't be there. Okay. Fine. And then seventh, the offer may be either specific or general. We've seen, right, types of offers. It can be either specific or general. So offer is different from a mere statement of intention, an invitation to offer, a yeah. So this is a very important point. Uh, we should always be able to differentiate offer with an invitation to offer. Offer and invitation to offer, there is a lot of difference. Okay, we should able to identify that difference. So just saying that, just expression or saying that I would do something, even that does not constitute an offer. We'll see how offer is different from an invitation to offer. Mm, First, an invitation to make an offer to do business. So, in case of an invitation to make an offer, the person making the invitation does not make an offer. In case of, so we have two topics here: offer, invitation to offer. So in case of offer, there is willingness. So A saying B that I'll sell my car for 2 lakhs. This is a proper offer. The moment B accepts, that will be an agreement and then a contract. But in case of invitation to offer, it is just that he'll say, I'm planning to sell my car. I'm planning to sell my car. So here there are no proper terms and all that. That's where the difference is between the offer and invitation to offer. In case of I'm planning to sell my car, he's ready to deal it further. If any other parties approach to him, he'll then say the terms, say the price, what is the selling price that he's willing to buy and all that. So there's further lot of work for that to be an agreement, right? So that's the difference. In case of an invitation to make an offer, the person making invitation here, he's in the case of invitation to offer, he's not making an offer. He's just expressing his willingness that yeah, I'm going to sell the car. Okay. He's just inviting the parties to make an offer. The other party may come forward and say, I'll buy your car for so and so price and all that. Okay. His objective is to send out the invitation that he is willing to deal with any party on the basis of such invitation is ready to enter into contract with him subject to final terms and conditions. That is the difference between offer and invitation to offer. So one of the examples given here is an advertisement for sale of goods by auction is an invitation. Yes. So in case of an auction, everyone is invited, right? And there they'll make an offer saying that the first party starts with I'll buy this for 1 lakh and the next party says I'll buy this for 1.5 lakhs. So there will be offers made by the parties who have come to that particular auction. Yeah, this is a very good example. Auction is an invitation to offer. It merely invites offers or bids. And red herring prospectus. Red herring prospectus is nothing but the preliminary prospectus, the initial draft kind of thing that is issued by a company to sell its shares. Even that is an invitation to offer, but not a proper offer. And a statement of intention and announcement. Statement of intention and announcement is nothing but here I am planning to sell my car is a statement of intention and announcement. Okay. And offer must be distinguished from an answer to a question. Yeah. What is this offer must be distinguished from an answer to question? Here we have very good case law, that is Harvey versus Fassy. So in this case, the Privy Council is again the United Kingdom's court kind of thing. Okay. So Privy Council, what did it say? Here the case is this particular defendant. First, the petitioner asked the two questions. Plaintiff asked two questions. The first question was via telegram. He asked, "Will you sell us bumper hall pen?" This was the first question asked, and the second question was telegraph lowest cash price. Okay, so these are the two questions that they have asked. The defendants said lowest price is 900 euros. They just responded to the second question, that is telegraph lowest cash price. They just said 900 euros, but they never responded to this question saying for this question, will you sell bumper hall pen? They did not respond to this question at all. They just telegraphed lowest cash price is 900 euros. So what the plaintiff said, just by saying that they've given us a quote of 900 euros, they have accepted our offer. He went to the court suing this way, but this is not at all permissible because the defendant never responded to the first question. That is, there is no acceptance at all. There was an offer made saying, will you sell us bumper hall pen? But never there was an acceptance given by the defendant. So we can't consider that to be a acceptance, and there was no agreement as such. So defendants are not bound to sell this for 900 euros. Okay, that was the verdict given in this case law. And the same, again, there's similar case law, Macpherson versus Appana, where the owner of the property said he would not accept less than 6,000 euro. This statement did not indicate any offer but indicated only an invitation to offer. He clearly did not say, I'll sell for 6,000 euros. He said, I'll not accept anything less than 6,000 euros. So, like, this is not a proper offer. Okay. And now, similarly, when the goods are sold through auction, it's not that everyone coming to that particular auction, with everyone a contract is made. No, they just come. It's an invitation to offer. They come, and then the people who have come there, if they are interested, then they themselves will make an offer saying that we'll buy. One party says 1 lakh, and if you see bids, the other party says 1 lakh 5,000, and all that. Fine. And now the offer may be expressed or implied. Yes, the offer can be by words or by conduct. Uh, a good example given here is that a boy who starts cleaning the car on the traffic signal without being asked to do, when someone is cleaning our car in the traffic signal, it is implied that he is expecting to be paid for that. So it's a the boy makes an implied offer here, and we are I mean, just because he has done some work, we when we do not stop him to do that, then it's like we have accepted that and we are bound to pay. Now, a statement of price is not an offer. What is, again, a statement of price? They says it's an invitation to offer. We'll see what is this. Yeah, an offer should be distinguished from an invitation to offer, to so as to be clear, because everyone making invitation to offer might claim that I've made an offer, he accepted. This kind of cases will crop up. That's the reason we should clearly distinguish offer with an invitation to offer.